You don't have to walk this path alone. I'm here. I'll take you through the hill you climb all on your own. It's steep and long.
Hey there. Welcome to Manna-Festations. I'm Penni Cooke, and thanks for joining me here today. Today's conversation is about something many people quietly consider: how to pursue the work God has placed in our hands while still learning to trust Him with the outcome. Because success can look very different through the lens of faith, sometimes God calls us to step into places where spreadsheets, plans, and logic say one thing, but faith may say something entirely different. And today we're going to talk about what it looks like to trust God in business, leadership, and everyday decisions. So today's guest is someone I've had the privilege of knowing and going to church with for a few years. We've worshiped together, and although we don't have a close personal relationship, we share a deep respect for one another, both professionally and as sisters in Christ. She's a very successful businesswoman who has built her career while holding firmly on to her Christian faith. And I'm excited for you to hear her story. So, Rachel, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me, sir.
But before we dive into your story, you know, the grounding of this podcast comes from the book of Exodus and God's daily provision of manna for his children. So I always start with a simple question for my guest. What's your favorite type of bread?
I knew this question was coming, and I asked my toddlers, and they wanted me to say Hawaiian rolls.
Oh, those are
because
good.
they love those.
Yeah.
And then I asked my husband, and he's like, "Oh, you know, you love the Italian breadsticks when we go to a restaurant."
Mhm.
And I said, "You know what? I just like daily bread. Bread that comes every day, not all at once, like at a restaurant, but bread that's provided every day.
Every day.
So if I had to eat one bread every day, it might be a biscuit. I
Ooh.
love a good Southern biscuit.
Yes.
It's my favorite bread."
So I'm going to insert a funny story here right quick. My husband watches some reels like on Facebook and all, and there's these people, guys and girls, I think, that have come over from England, and you know their menu and their palate is totally different over there. So they came over here and they're sampling our food in the States.
Here we go.
Their favorite is biscuits and gravy. They
Southern biscuits
Yes.
and gravy.
They love
It
it.
even puts across the pond.
It does.
Yeah.
Well, if you've listened to my podcast before, you know I love most bread, but I really do appreciate a more healthy diet, especially these days. My friend Naomi Fricke helps me with that. She owns Yellow Daisy Bakery in Dallas, Georgia, and she made this amazing banana nut bread. And I have a fresh one here for you today to take home with you. Naomi uses all fresh ingredients, soft, fresh mill flour, no bleaching, no preservatives. So you better eat this one quick and share it with your family. I've been frequenting her bakery now for the last month, and I've loved everything that I've tried. So good. And it feels good knowing that I'm eating better and healthy ingredients, and they taste delicious. So you can find Yellow Daisy Bakery on Facebook, and the owner, Naomi Fricke, she'll post weekly menus and a price list. So go check out Naomi at Yellow Daisy Bakery in Dallas, Georgia. We'll drop a link for her Facebook page and a QR code in our show notes at the end of this episode. And when you contact Naomi on your first purchase, she'll give you 15% off. So as we begin our conversation, I'd love for listeners to get to know you a little bit. So tell us about yourself, your family, and maybe your journey into business when you first started.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm Rachel Bolton. I get the pleasure of getting to see Penny once a week, usually at our church, or at least once a month here in Georgia. But beyond that, I'm a mother of two. I've got two under the age of 6, so pray for me. And I've been in the business world for over 20 years.
Wow.
Starting my career way back as a phone call center sales catalog. Do you remember catalogs? Catalog sales for hardware parts.
Yeah.
And then moved my way up through Home Depot and just my most recent role at Stanley Black & Decker, selling some of their brands and manufacturing tools, but usually in a leadership development capacity. I've moved from sales to now teaching leaders how to bring their best selves to work, or even virtually now that we're in this remote world so much. And it was a global organization too. So it was work that really stretched me. And as a mother with 2 under 6 and working at 6 a.m. so you can be with the people across the pond,
Right.
okay?
Yeah.
And then at 10 p.m. because people in China need to be addressed as well. I mean, it was a long, hard day every day in that way.
Right.
And so when you were doing your intro, Penny, about spreadsheets
Mhm.
and those, and I got a shiver that went down my spine. I'm like, because I've been out of that world, as you know,
Right.
since
Yeah.
November. So I'm excited to talk about this conversation with regard to faith, especially as an executive in the business world. And when you're out of that world, when you're out of a corporation, you need that faith more than ever,
sure.
especially with kids.
Right.
So,
Well, was there a moment where you realized your faith and your work were connected, deeply connected?
yeah, there were a couple. I'm originally from Jacksonville, Florida, so I'm from a super Southern Baptist church upbringing. So
Right.
there was no way that it was going to be hidden, even if I was on roles and in different jobs. But I've always worn a crucifix cross, and I'm wearing it now. And I was going back through pictures from 6 years ago, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, and I always have this cross on. And one of the things that sort of happened as our culture shifted a little bit around 2019, 2020, 2022, where some people were wanting to conceal their faith or to be more
Right.
inclusive, not show it, especially the higher up you go. And so I had to make a conscious decision that I'm not going to hide my necklace. I'm not going to hide my faith. And that meant even as a VP at a global org where I'm on camera in front of 30,000 employees who are from China and Vietnam and
Wow.
Dubai and UK, and even some colleagues saying, just that's feedback, just to be more inclusive, you may want to. And I had to make that choice to make that stand. And to me, that was when the rubber met the road. Like, no, I'm not going to tuck it. I'm not going to hide it. I'm going to proudly, because you never know what a witness that can be to others.
Right.
Too,
Yeah. Exactly. And you never know who's listening or watching
Yes.
from, like you said, anywhere in the world.
Yes.
So, what about when trusting God meant taking that big risk, maybe, and it didn't make sense when you looked at it all on paper? And, how am I going to step out and not do what they're asking me to do?
Oh,
How'd you seek God's guidance and His direction in that?
well, I'm a very animated person. I'm a very positive person, so I don't conceal things very well. If I'm upset or if something's bothering me, my husband can usually see it. And I work from home. I've always worked from home for the last 6 years, so I call him my permanent coworker.
Sure.
And so I go in the cafeteria in my kitchen and I talk to my permanent coworker, and he can just see it. And I'm like, someone told me I should, to be more inclusive, maybe consider concealing my cross. And he goes, and how do you feel about that? I said, my blood is boiling. I'm going to hide, And so I went to him first, but then I said, let me cool down. And every morning I meditate, Penny. I get up. I can't help it. I'm a young mother, and I get up at 4:00 just for peace. And I meditate. And I can remember that season and asking God to protect me so that I wouldn't be persecuted at work for wearing the necklace from the person who suggested it. Or I didn't want them to think that I disregarded their advice, or I didn't want to be seen as a martyr or somebody.
Right.
Just there's a lot of optics, especially at higher executive levels. And I needed to rely on him to protect me from that, and so that I could be a light. And that wasn't easy to do. I'm not going to lie. There were days where I had a turtleneck. We were talking about it could be cold in April. I'd have a turtleneck, and I'm like, you know what? I don't have to pull the necklace out. And I'm like, nope, we said, a commitment to, I'm just not going to hide it. And even if it's as small as a necklace, you can see how that can easily be compromised. You go, you know what? That's fair enough. And you can easily do that. Yeah. I just didn't want to, and I needed him to give me the faith to keep it going.
I love that story. And now I will never look at you with
and
that.
look at all my pictures on Facebook.
Right.
You'll see the
I'm going to go back and look at them. Like, yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you have this challenge then, and maybe others that we haven't talked about yet. But
Oh, yeah.
did it ever affect your daily provision? Like, hey, I might be without a job if I do this. And what's it going to look like for my family?
Yeah, this is why I wanted to come and have this conversation, because in November of last year, there was a layoff, a massive layoff at my organization that I was not immune to. Me and 170 others lost their roles in one blink of an eye.
Yeah.
And I had been there for about a year, and you're making great money. And I just had never been without a job, except for when you're on maternity leave.
Gosh.
That doesn't count. That's still work, just
You're
in a different way.
covered. Yeah, right.
So it was just, I was all of a sudden in the last quarter of the year, right before Thanksgiving, November 5th, with 2 young kids, right before Thanksgiving, without a job. And that was an identity crisis for me, if I'm being honest, just because you get to a certain level, and when that goes away and you don't have a company behind you, who are you? And then the security of money. I joke all the time. My husband's retired, and he's a smidge older than me. And he always said, just so you know how this is.
Yes, I do.
And so he's comfortable with a certain predictability and stability. And when that is pulled from under you so abruptly, it was jarring for him. There was concern about, well, our finances and mortgage. And we had big bills to match a big salary and tuition for our kids. And just when we talk about provision daily, at first you're kind of okay, your first 30 to 60 days. But I'm 4 months in now, Penni, we're starting to look at the coffers, as he calls it, and you have rainy day funds, but as you use it, the reality starts to become very real. And so now we are in this window where we know there's not unlimited. We've got to have something come in somehow, but we also can't see where that is. I've been interviewing and applying and having great conversations, and anybody who's seen any of my content, they've seen me at Visa and at Coke, and I'm very active with my network, and I know God is going to provide what this is all about. But I feel like I'm in the wilderness.
But we can't see it today. Right. And I love this. I don't love it that you're in the wilderness.
Oh, no, I don't.
But I love this because on the previous podcasts, we've been talking with people who are on the other side of that. And God has pulled them through. And He will.
Can't wait to get there.
I know. But I know all of you and us, we're still in the mix of going through it daily.
Yeah.
But God's here for us.
Yeah, it is a constant battlefield of the mind.
It is.
So there are days where I have the faith, and I know that God is moving, and I know that something is going to happen, and I can feel it. I can feel the unseen. That's what faith is. Right?
Yes.
And my husband is very pragmatic, very practical, very realistic. And he's looking at the books, and he can't see the unseen at that time. So we have to trade off sometimes, lifting each other up. And we have a quote jar in our kitchen, and I'm like, I can see you're starting to lose faith. Let's pull it out. Jeremiah 29:13, or whatever we need to do, right?
Yeah.
Because we don't know, and it can be scary at times.
Yes, and that goes great with my next point. I was going to say that in Matthew 6, that's that famous thing that we always quote, any of us that know the Bible, where we are instructed as believers, do not worry.
So easy to say.
How do you keep from worrying about the future when the pressures to succeed, even if you have a job, you still are in that pressure. Do more, do more, do more.
Yes.
It's hard.
It's brutal. I have to remind Scott, he says, well, I'll be calm when you have a role again, when you're back where you were again. I'm like, oh, honey, you were not calm. When I was working 14 hours, we were door dashing all of our food. I couldn't spend time with the kids at the pool. You were sort of having to do everything. I had to travel quite a bit. We were in small groups at church, and I'd be asking people to pray for me because I have to be somewhere for 2 weeks. And so you think the blessing is on the other side or the peace is on the other side of the blessing. But there can be peace now. So I have to sort of remind him, listen, honey, I'm making more homemade meals. We had ribeyes, baked potatoes the last night. Old Rachel working in that role would not have done that. And I get to do arts and crafts with my kids, and I get time to really be present with my husband. And that is a big leap and jump from where I was exactly a year ago in that role.
Well,
So
and you know, with worry, God gives us instruction, not just that verse, but throughout the
so
whole
many
Bible,
times.
things that are good for us. They might not feel good, but he didn't say it just to throw it out there. There's a reason. And,
Yeah.
and worry does just burden us down.
And it does
And-
nothing. It gets us nowhere.
And I don't really want to solve what should be his problem to solve anyway. He doesn't need
Yes.
my help. And I need to remember that.
Yeah. Oh, we have to do, as you talk about remembering, reflection. So I'll say, Scott, do you remember the last time we thought the sky was falling? What are we going to do?
Yeah.
We were looking, and we've got, dozens of examples from health to provision to career to family.
Mm-hmm.
And God always does exceedingly and abundantly every single time.
Yes.
So it's almost absurd to worry when look at every time what he's done every time. He always gives us more than we wanted, more than we asked for, bigger than I thought. So you think he's not going to do that this time? And he's like, well, I sure wish you would hurry up.
Don't you know? Yes.
I don't blame him, but his timing is not our timing. And I've got a 3-year-old son, and he's having some growth spurt boy things happening right now. And I just reflect, what if I were working at that company right now?
Yeah.
I could not be fully there for Victor like I am now.
Mm-hmm.
I could not absorb them taking him out of school or just all the things that happen at that age, you know. And I feel like it's a blessing.
Yes.
No way. It's a weird blessing.
It is.
If you can say that.
And needful for Victor. Yeah.
Absolutely. So my kids don't worry. They're not like, when is mommy getting a job? They're like, this is great.
And that's the great thing is God can see the whole plan. We see just our little
sliver
side.
of
It's a
it.
little hard, but the blessings are coming.
Trust.
Because manna isn't always, it's not a long-term plan that's laid out like the spreadsheets we talked about. It's the courage to take the next step and live in the moment.
Yes.
Have faith. Takes a lot of faith not to worry.
It does. There's a great analogy where they say it's like a bridge is being built by the step as you step out on it.
Mm-hmm.
So earlier, one of your questions was, when did you have to really have faith? Well, I gave the example about my necklace, but also I started being more visible online and leaning into my coaching business and starting a podcast just like you did. And like, I've never done that before, and I didn't know what to expect or if I was going to have people that would want to be on it, and if anybody would watch it. There's faith in that too, and I just want to commend you for what you're doing and to keep going, because I know that feels like stepping on the plane.
It does.
You can't see the end.
Whole new territory.
Yeah.
I was not familiar with it at all, except for listening. And it's different being a listener in your bedroom at night or in the living room in the morning or whatever. It's a whole different side. But I'm grateful for all the people that came before us, though, because they taught me a lot. Just, I was studying them. What is that scripture study? Just show thyself approved.
Yeah,
so that's what I try to do.
That's a good one. Yes, I was just faking it till you make it. I was just looking at people and trying to.
And I am too.
Whatever they were doing, I was going to try to do exactly. And it looks great. It's great.
Well, so let's talk a minute about some difficult seasons, since we were talking about worry and you're in the middle of a difficult season right now. I was going to ask you a question. Was there a time when things didn't go as planned? I think we're in it
November
right now.
5th.
Yes. And we talked a little about how you're navigating that. And I think keeping the communication lines open with the people you're around that you live with.
Yeah.
Because if you're so stressed, you can't be who you need to be for them either.
Right. Yes. And it's your immediate family in the house, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's also, I call it a network, but it's that close inner circle of friends and the people who knew you in a very typical role. They're used to you being Rachel, the person who works at Stanley Black & Decker now. Those titles have shed, that company has shed. So how do you relate to me now that I'm not going into a 9-to-5 every day? I'm not traveling for work. I mean, I've been home since November, basically. And for me, the communication at home is about coordination, because I was sharing that I've been going out on campus and meeting people in person and facilitating workshops for churches, just doing whatever I can to stay visible and active. But then that means somebody's got to be home taking care of these two little crumb crushers.
That's exactly.
And my husband's still active. He's got his own things. He loves to cycle, and he wants to stay fit, and he likes to chop wood and likes to do things for the church voluntarily. And so we have to really be mindful about coordination.
Right.
And there have been times where, and we're a one-car family, if you can believe that. And there are times when I need the car to go here, but he needs it to go to the dentist, and then the school calls and we've got to pick up Victor. And it's like, you talk about stress and it's a season when your normal support isn't there, your normal provision isn't there, everybody's tense. There's some weeks where, you know, I'm either in the doghouse or Scott's in the doghouse or the kids are in the doghouse. I mean, somebody's crying, but it's because it's tough moving through transition without being really clear about, hey, this Tuesday I'm doing this podcast, or next Wednesday I've got a doctor's appointment. Where before that wasn't even really a problem. We have a second car and I could just do my thing
and it goes.
Yeah. So it's odd having to not ask permission, but to double check and make sure that you're aligned. And then with the people outside of you, I'll be honest, the cadence of talking or the rhythm of talking changes. So all of a sudden you look at your phone and there's just nothing happening. And that feels so weird when you always had emails and you always had texts and messages. So it was hard for me. There would be weeks, and my family can tell you this, where it'd be a Monday and I'd just wake up and cry because I didn't feel like my kids were going to school and my husband had his thing to do, but I had nothing.
Right.
Yeah. And so that was hard, is that people haven't ignored me. They're just living their lives. They're doing their own thing.
Yeah. I've not to take it personal when you're the one living it.
Yes. That was,
you talked about putting yourself out there and staying more visible because you are still searching for what's next.
Yes, I am still looking. If anybody is looking for leadership development, shameless plug. I am still looking.
But because we are visible out there and we don't know who is looking at it. It might be your next supervisor, your next boss.
Yes.
But in doing that, if they are watching you, then integrity comes into who we are at work and at home. Ideally, it should be, the same. And I think true leadership reveals what we truly believe.
Yes.
It's going to come out.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere. So I coach executives that are all the way up to C-suite. I've never been a chief of anything, but I get the pleasure of getting to talk with people who are in those roles. And they tell me they have to be on at all times. So, I mean, that's at the gas station, the grocery store, the airport, at home, at work. There's never a chance to truly just sort of let their hair down or be non-performative. And so I take that as, well, you never would have to really work at it if you were authentic everywhere you were. And so take it or leave it. That means you're going to see the same Rachel at the Publix as you do at church, as you do on my Facebook stories, as you would at work with me. And I think that consistent thread is the spirit inside of you. It's the spirit. I mean, my hair may look different. Don't get me wrong. I might not be working Rachel. I always change it. I'm just so weird about that. But I'm still the same spirit reflected in each place. And I think that's the power of the Holy Spirit, that we get to be authentic through that.
And how does that, if you are in a business environment, how does that affect your leadership style and how you treat people?
Oh my gosh. Well, I wear this cross in there. So then there's already this expectation that, well, she's not going to cuss us out, or she's not going to, hit below the belt or whatever. Right. And some of the organizations I worked at are male dominated. Home Depot and Stanley Black and Decker. These are engineering forward, very tough male led industries. And so in some ways, women in those spaces have been tough, have been, match tit for tat with the male figures, including profanity or going out after work or just some of the things you do on business trips. And I've had to learn that my boundaries aren't compromisable. And for me, I kind of get a great excuse. I've got kids. So if I never really get into trouble, I could just say, look, I've got little ones. I've got to FaceTime them. And that's true. Even if I'm in a different time zone, if I'm in West Coast, I will leave to FaceTime my children before they go to bed. Sure. I will not use ugly language in a boardroom, no matter how mad or heated I get.
Mhm.
I do not play dirty politics games.
Mhm.
And again, when we talk about that spirit, I don't operate that way. I let the Father fight my battles. I let the Father do, I mean, he's way better at it than I am anyway.
Yeah.
And so I get to keep my name clean. I get to keep and if I want my career to continue to grow, I don't ever want embarrassing moments or moments where I lost my cool and really said some things that some people go, well, she's a Christian, but you know what? One day she said X, Y, Z. And I'm saying this publicly. I don't think anybody can say that story about me anymore.
Yeah.
Now, back in high school, in your
Yes.
20s, maybe, but in my career, no, I think there's a reputation at stake as well. And the best leaders I know, they don't operate that way. Male, female, black, white, doesn't matter. And I've seen great leadership that can be strong without that.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think our definition of success changes as we walk with God.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Now I don't want to be in the C-suite.
Right.
At this point, now that I've had going on 4 months, help us, Lord. Going on 4 months of this freer, more present time with my family, with myself, doing some self-care too, and work with the Spirit as well. I don't know that I can go back fully into some of the things that I just came out of, that he delivered me from.
Makes sense, right?
Yes. So even if that means, well, maybe I'm not a vice president anymore. Maybe I'm just a director. I'm just a manager. If it gives me peace and it can pay that mortgage,
Mhm.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
And I've got friends who are not in the workforce anymore. Some of them that are at my church, some of my very best friends are stay-at-home moms. They homeschool their kids. And now that I've had just a taste of it, Penny, I'm like, my husband's like, now don't get too comfortable with him. You're going back to work.
We're going to pray for you too, Scott.
Bless his heart. Like, we don't know what God's going to do.
Right.
And he may he may exalt me like Joseph, or who knows, but as long as it gives me the balance and some of the presence that I've been able to have these last couple of months, I'll be happy. So it's not even about the manna, the money, or the provision. When I think of manna, I think of money in some ways, or wealth, or provision, or abundance. It may not be what it was at Stanley Black and Decker, but it's still provision.
Yes, and provision can also just be peace.
Yes.
Which is
huge. Wealth of it. Yes. And health. Yes.
Yes. But again, which is huge. So I want to, we talked about challenges. I want to step away from that a minute and let's talk about success. That's what we all desire. I mean, whether we should or not. We
to be excellent.
Yes. Yes. And provide.
Yes.
We need to do that. So, for someone who's listening who feels called to start something, but maybe they're afraid, they're just, I've never done this before. Like our Black guest.
Yes.
Like what would you say to them? Some encouragement. You're doing life coaching now. So
yes, this is right up my alley. This is a great question. The quote the kick that I got from my coach was, do it afraid. Just do it afraid. You're never going to really feel super comfortable and at ease doing something new. You're not. And because you don't feel comfortable, you're like, well, let me just study. And you keep watching things and reading things. And you think that that's soothing you, but it's building up your fear even more. Just do it afraid.
Mm-hmm.
Just do it afraid. So I remember she said, Rachel, you're so animated. Your face, people connect with you. You need to do more video. And at that time I was at Stanley Black & Decker. I'm like, nope, I'm not a content creator. I do not want to do videos. I'm not an influencer. That is not my thing. This was really the kickback, the pushback. And she said, what if you could touch more people? Because you show up on camera and they see someone who looks like you, or see someone who's beautiful, that's captivating, or they see someone whose voice resonates with them, or they see someone who is at your level. What if you could reach more people than you do just with a post with letters? And that made me go, well, I do want to reach more people. I do want to help more people. He has given me a light. So why am I hiding it? I'm just afraid. And she said,
Yeah.
well, just do it afraid. Who cares? And post it. Do a short clip and just hit submit and then don't look at it.
Right.
That was my 2024. I'll never forget it. I did it and I made a caption. I just hit submit and I turned my phone off for the day. I just didn't want to see if people looked at it or commented.
Right.
And now I've got over, oh gosh, probably over 50 plus clips across LinkedIn and Facebook and
Yes.
Instagram and things that people say to you when you submit that to the world, then it comes back mirrored like, oh, I'm so glad you posted this, or this feels so like my life right now. Then you're like, all right, well, she was right. My purpose is being hindered by me being afraid. So I was saying, just do it afraid.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you stutter, if you mess up, if your hair looks crazy, do it anyway.
Good advice. We were talking about watching other podcasts.
Yes.
Because we were starting brand new here.
Yep.
And one of the ones that I watched is Sadie Robertson.
Oh, I love.
And she has
So
the
good.
network of Live Original,
So
which
good.
reminds me of what we're talking about.
Yes.
Just stepping out, being who God called you to be, whether it feels scary or not, just do it.
Yes. And I'm still growing in that.
Yes.
So I've done some inner work where we talked about, we joked, I change my hair all the time. I change it all the time. But I used to wear it just short with my hair. I cut it after I had my daughter and I just would wear it to work short. And I thought, you know what? I want to go back to being comfortable in all of me. And that means if I'm in a scarf, if I'm in a pretty hair extensions, if it's just my hair. So now I'm even posting authentically without so much makeup or without my hair just right. That's part of me doing it afraid anyway, is doing it naturally or originally, like she says, because that connects to people's souls even more. They're like,
it does.
I wear a scarf to bed too, or I also tie my hair at night, or I also go to bed with no makeup on. Like, you look just like we do. We're all the human condition at the same time. And so the more that we try to mask it or make it perfect, you're losing people. You're losing that connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They need to see the you.
Exactly.
All right. So what's your favorite scripture that's carried you through this journey?
Well, I said it already, 29:11, Jeremiah.
That's right.
And this is also, my son's middle name is Jeremiah, and that was on purpose because I really do believe that God knows every hair on our head, everything about us before we're ever born.
Right.
And so if he's given me a destiny, a hope, a future, then if I'm sitting in the wilderness right now, just looking for my manna from the ravens, like that verse is like, nope, why would you, don't you worry. I've given you a hope and a future and you're going to be fine. There's something about that verse that just makes me feel comforted, and that if I reflect on my life, it has been true. I mean, I've got people from my past, from my high school, they look at me and they go, Rachel, you've worked at these places, you live in Atlanta, you've got these beautiful children. Your life has been a masterclass. And I'm like, no, it's been, God has carried me through a lot of things. His destiny, his future, and the hope he has for me is so big. And if I can just trust it, like I have to right now in this season, I know that it'll be bigger than I could ask, think, or imagine. I also love the one about exceedingly and abundantly above all that you can ask, think, or imagine. That's a good one, Terry.
Yes. So we talked about your business, your life, but just kind of to wrap up, how has God changed not just your business, but your life?
Oh gosh. I mean, I have so much gratitude now. I think having children does that to you. You have to have so much faith when you can't see them, or when they're out, or when they're injured, or when I mean, there's so much that you have to lean on him for with children.
And they're yours to take care of.
Yes.
Responsibility.
Yes. And I think even when they're in utero and even before they're here, you just hope they're healthy and you hope they're okay. And you hope, so you need all this faith in the unseen. And I think my faith in God has really just increased my true faith in the unseen. I know what's physically here, but there is a world that is spiritual that is also very, very real. And people will think you're crazy or delusional for in a season like this going, no, I'm abundant. God is going to take care of me. I'm already delivered from this. He's going to promote me beyond my wildest dreams. He is giving me this window to connect with my family and connect with myself. This is a reset. And then my friends who are also laid off amongst the other 107, they're like,
Right.
girl, you can start applying for jobs. What are you talking about? Like, what are you going to do? And there's a panic and a fear that most laid off people, and there's nothing wrong with that. I had it too.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But I also have far more faith in what I cannot see. I just figure he's building just the perfect thing for me.
And then you'll put your feet.
Yes.
Safe.
Yes. And it'll be real and it'll be
Right.
realized. So that's what it's been for me. I had parents who were disabled that I had to reconcile with, well, why was my mother given MS? Why does my mom can't walk and other moms can't? So even as a young girl, I remember just having to lean on this invisible faith, the unseen of, no, God did this for a reason. It's so that she can always be home with you. And that you get, and that's a weird way to think of it. But I grew up with my mother at home with me every day. Right. And she wasn't going out to a job like I was doing and I have been doing with my daughter. So there's a reason. God does everything for a reason. And I believe that there's a lot that he's prepared in the invisible. And until then, I get to enjoy sleeping in the morning in those spreadsheets.
Yay.
I don't miss that. I don't miss that at all.
One of the things I love about hearing stories like we've talked about today is a reminder that faith isn't separated from our work. It's all integrated, and God cares about every decision that we make, the people that we lead, the way we steward the opportunities that he places in our life. And sometimes the manna that he provides isn't a 5-year plan. It's simply wisdom for the next decision.
Yes.
So let's say a quick prayer. Lord, for anyone listening today who feels uncertain about their next step, whether it's in business, work, or a calling from you, just remind us that you are the provider. Give us wisdom for decisions, courage for the risk that has to be taken, and peace as we trust you with the outcome. Help us all remember that success in your kingdom is measured simply by faithfulness. Jesus, we love you, and in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Rachel, thank you so much for joining me here today and for sharing your story. This is Penni Cooke with Manna-Festations, trusting God for today. If you've enjoyed this episode, please follow us, subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite podcast app. This will really help us share our message. And of course, all of our content is free, and links and transcript are posted below. See you next Monday.
You don't have to walk this path alone. I'm here. I'll take you through the hill you climb all on your own. It's steep and long. In the darkness of your world, I'll meet you on your knees and make all things new. And as Jesus takes my hand, he whispers, I got this. I got this, my baby girl, I got this.